got the cornfield calm, Midwest tone, but he's spitting facts like a dog with a bone. Lanky frame, fire-haired, eyes on the case, breaking down the game in the darkest place. Sports scores to murder boards, Hoosier logic cuts like swords. From Friday lights to chalked out lines, this redhead's brain rewrites the lines inside the Hoosier mind, where the stories twist and stats unwind. He's a legend in flannel, mic in hand, digging deep where few can stand. From touchdowns to crime scenes raw, he's got the truth in every draw. Yeah, step in if you dare to find what's brewing inside the Hoosier mind. He'll talk Pacers, Colts, or Colts on trial. Hoosier humor with a devilish smile. He's that redhead sleuth with a box of clues. Takes your headline, breaks the news. With every stat and every scream, he's painting portraits in your stream. Don't blink, he'll tie it tight. From game night wins to murder flight. Inside the Hoosier mind, where the facts hit hard and the lines are blind. He's a ginger ninja, smooth and slick, cracking cases play by play quick. From courtrooms to the hardwood floor, he digs for more than just the score. Tune in and don't rewind, you're deep now inside the Hoosier mind.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome into Inside the Hoosier Mind, brought to you by Military Broadcast Radio, helping give veterans a voice, and Gunfighter Beard Company, helping make guys like Mike and I look good and smell pretty with our beards. We don't just look like dudes that are homeless with rat's nests. Mike, buddy, it's been a wild few days. There's like so much in the NFL, and that's how you know we're down bad for football right now, because this is basically the biggest news that we got as far as sports news and whatnot. But buddy, thanks for coming on. It's been a minute, man. I missed you.
I missed you, bro. I mean, it's been crazy, you know. I mean, we got a revamped Chicago Bears defense, and DJ Moore is headed to Buffalo. Josh Allen has a new weapon. We got a lot of stuff going on in Kansas City. Gardner Minshew with the opportunity of a lifetime. Can't wait to see that. I mean, we're you know, we'll talk about it later, but by week 5, Minshew mania will be back. I am not in the Jacoby Brisker sweepstakes. I'm not feeling that.
Okay, so what you're saying is you're gonna have a hot take later on in the show about maybe where you think Minshew mania is gonna be running wild through, brother.
Hey, no, he signed with Arizona.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't see he signed with Arizona.
Yeah, he signed with
okay. Oh, oh man, but is that really?
Steve, there's so much going on, telling you.
There is. We'll dive into it.
We just 5 minutes ago. We're not going to talk about it on the show. A punter was traded. I mean, I don't. Much going on today.
Not newsworthy enough. Not newsworthy enough. But man, and I do want to say before we get too deep into it, the craziest part is, for anybody who doesn't know, NFL free agency has not officially even opened yet. It doesn't open until 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, the 11th of March.
It's over.
And we've had trades happen for like the last 3 days. Everybody's like, nah, let's just go ahead and get ahead of it now, since we're in the quote unquote legal tampering of the NFL as it stands currently. And so many big moves. We got Maxx Crosby to the Ravens. Like you mentioned, DJ Moore to the Bills. Josh Allen finally has at least one wide receiver weapon again. Even though he might lose his other wide receiver in Keon Coleman, because he may or may not be happy with staying there. You've got Michael Pittman Jr. going to the Steelers. Don't know how that happened, but hey, we go rock with it. I know Randy said I'm the biggest Pittman hater. I don't know about the biggest, but I'm a critic.
Top 3. He ain't 3 or 2. I'll tell you what.
Right. He ain't 2 and 3. We'll put it that way. I'm trying to remember. We've got Kenneth Walker also going to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And to try to remember who else we've got Mike Evans as a 49er. Tua, an Atlanta Falcon. Is that really his best move for his career?
League minimum, by the way. Crazy.
Yeah, right. And the Raiders. The Raiders seem to be doing everything right. There's a lot of confusion. Is that Tom Brady? Like, look, if I'm gonna have ownership in this, we gonna do it correctly. Malik Willis is a Dolphin now as they replace their quarterback loss from Tua.
Yeah.
And then Kyler Murray.
Romeo Dobbs too. My bad.
Oh yeah, he's with the Patriots. And then Kyler Murray is homeless at the current moment.
Well,
so
he's probably on Call of Duty or something right now. Rainbow Six.
I was like, watch. Out of the two quarterbacks between him and Tua, because that's been the topic of conversation here of lately, of who should retire and who keep playing and who should keep playing. What's probably going to happen is the guy that should keep playing is going to retire, and the guy that should retire is going to keep playing.
I'll do you one better. The question is going to be at the beginning of free agency. The question was, who's going to sign first, Kyler or Tua? Here's the answer. It ain't going to be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers will still be the last man to sign a contract. You know, I feel like when we really go through free agency, whether you're a basketball fan, a football fan, or a baseball fan, hockey, whatever, you know, the biggest names are usually the guys that sign last for the most part. But for whatever reason, every offseason, Aaron Rodgers makes it a point to be the last guy to sign his contract because he just wants the attention. Maybe, I don't know, but like whatever the case is, I can't believe we potentially have to do another is he retiring, where is he going to play type of season for Aaron Rodgers.
You know who he kind of reminds me of? Aaron kind of reminds me of that. You remember that really pretty girl you used to see in high school that like all the dudes wanted to be with, like everybody wanted to be with her. And then that was kind of where she peaked, was high school. And then she never let go of that peak. That to me is who Aaron is right now with his retirement, not retirement drama and whatnot. Yeah. And with
perfect 4-time MVP, 4-time homecoming queen, you know, had her moment, made it to the big dance, made it to prom queen, you know, won a ring. Awesome. Cool. But 3 kids working at a diner and, you know, on every app possible now. I mean, it's rough out here. On drugs. And there's a lot that's going on right now in the life of Aaron.
Right. But we'll get to him when it comes around. Let's talk about the main thing that I pitched to you earlier, because I was going to our bathroom at work, and we have a gym bathroom, which that's the primo spot. If you're looking for a good secluded spot to poop, that's the spot, especially on company time. I'm going in there, and they have ESPN on, and they have First Take. And apparently Dan Orlovsky decided to ask the question of, now that the Ravens have Maxx Crosby, is this it for Lamar? And I just kind of stood there and I listened for a little bit because I'm thinking, okay, let me hear the logic behind this. And Mike, you tell me your thoughts. My first impression, with the exception of last year, for whatever reason, it felt like the Ravens just got off to a bad start with the ugly loss to the Bills, and then they just really never got their footing underneath them until, for whatever reason, Tyler Huntley came in at quarterback, and then they seemed to be rolling there for a little bit. They were even in contention for the AFC North all the way up to the end.
Beat the Bears with Tyler Huntley. I mean, it's crazy.
Like, the defense has really never been an issue with the exception of last year. Like, that's never been the problem. And now they do get a premier pass rusher, which they haven't had really since Terrell Suggs retired. So, I mean, I'll give them that. They did finally get a big piece when it comes to that. But he's not catching balls from Lamar. Like, that's really not the issue. And as you pointed out, and it's going to kind of tie into the Raiders a little bit later, they lost their star center because they didn't pay him. So now that offensive line is going to be even more shaky.
Yeah.
But buddy, what's your thoughts on, you know, now that Maxx Crosby is a Raven, it's now basically, you know, Super Bowl or bust for Lamar, which is crazy to think.
Yeah, I think there's real conversations to make that argument if you're Dan Orlovsky. And I say that because the simple fact of the matter is, in a lot of situations, especially with Kansas City versus Buffalo, or Ravens versus Buffalo, or Ravens versus Chiefs or Bengals, whatever the case may be, come the playoffs, It really does feel like in the AFC, it's always a shootout every single game. And then obviously the Broncos have, thrown their hat in the mix, the Patriots, and then the list goes on now of like great teams in this conference. So to add a guy like Maxx Crosby alongside a Roquan Smith, I think is going to be insane. And they are going to be an incredible defense. It's going to be, I mean, the Purple Monsters are back. You know what I mean? I know that's not their nickname, but that's what I'm going to call them for now.
Right.
It is what it is. But, no, I think it's crazy when we look back on it, and I have to explain to our kids one day, and you have that conversation of, hey, Dad, Lamar Jackson had Des Bryant, Odell Beckham Jr., and DeAndre Hopkins as wide receivers and never made it to the Super Bowl. And I'm going to be like, well, son, those guys were damn near 40 years old at that time. Like, that's the reality. Like, Maxx Crosby's a dog. Maxx Crosby's incredible. But when you lose Linderbaum and you don't bring in another wide receiver one, because we've seen the regression of a Mark Andrews, it's scary, man, if you're really looking at it. I mean, let me just say, Zay Flowers is a dog. Zay Flowers, he's incredible, but you need more than just Zay Flowers. You know what I mean? You can't just, if you're looking at let's say, for example, the Minnesota Vikings are solid, but if you only had Jordan Addison and not Justin Jefferson, it's a lot different. If, I definitely do think, in my personal opinion, if the Ravens were going to go after anybody, it should have been Justin Jefferson. It really should have. And that's really my hot take on it is I think you want to understand what you have in Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a multi-time league MVP. But can you win a championship with Lamar Jackson? We're not going to talk about the drops with Mark Andrews. We're not going to talk about the defense falling apart against Mahomes. Like, give him a number one receiver and see how it looks. And I'm not saying that because I'm making excuses for Lamar, but I'm saying you give him that X factor on offense. It's not just Derrick Henry. You actually have to say at this point in time, like we say about Josh Allen, can he win the big one? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of excuses I feel like they've made for Lamar, man. And I feel that way about Josh too. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you did have Stephon Diggs. You know what I mean? You have had a solid wide receiver core. Now, last year, no, those guys were ass. But it's just interesting to me, man. Like, I've seen Patrick Mahomes do more with a lot less. You know what I mean? He lost Tyreek and did not miss a beat.
Yeah. So here's my other question, because there's a name that I'm going to throw out there that he's actually been associated with another AFC team. But they, for whatever reason, have decided not to make the deal. And the team that wants him, the team that is potentially wanting to trade him away does not want to offer up that much.
Yeah.
Realistically, do you think instead of Maxx Crosby, you go to the Eagles because you have the 14th pick and you say, hey, here's the 14th pick. Here's like a fourth, and we'll take AJ Brown. Do you think the Eagles are like, bye AJ, go a couple hours just down the road there to Baltimore? That gives you a legitimate number one guy who he knows he's going to be the main guy getting the targets. Flowers, it helps him because then it opens up the other lanes because now he's not getting double covered. And like you said, it gives Lamar a chance to really prove himself as far as having a top tier, young, big wide receiver to throw to. To me, I feel like that could potentially be a match made in heaven of like, all right, AJ, it's clear you are the guy. You don't have to have this issue with Jalen Hurts, with Nick Sirianni, with all the drama. Like, it's a significantly better spot than you were in with Tennessee. It's a little bit of maybe you could call a downgrade from Philly if you really want to call it that, but you're still going to be in pretty good contention just because of how the Ravens are run. Now, a lot of questions as far as what does coaching look like now that Harbaugh is gone.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, the way everything looks on paper should still be solid.
I hate that. I really do. And honestly, I hate it. If this is Madden, it works. But unfortunately, and I'm just going to be completely honest at this point in time, AJ is probably a good guy. AJ is probably a great person. You know what I mean? I don't know the guy personally. But I'm fucking tired of him. Really.
That's
And
fair.
that's really like you cannot win a Super Bowl and still be fucking upset.
Yes.
I'm sorry, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's that's the window for me. You know what I mean? Like Walter
Mhm.
Payton, sweetness, number 34, the greatest football player to ever play the game, didn't score a touchdown in 1985, 1986 Super Bowl against the New England Patriots, where the Bears put up over 60 points. I know that ate Walter up. I know that pissed him off. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're still a Super Bowl champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for A.J. Brown to get all the opportunities, to get all the targets, still be that guy, I understand there's frustration,
Mhm.
but you won a Super Bowl and you just weren't happy. And that's something for me where it's like, dude, it's a team sport. We should be just celebrating that we just hit the highest peak that we ever have, especially when you came from humble beginnings in Tennessee.
Yes.
And you know, the problems in Tennessee, sure. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna discredit that, but you didn't rock with Mike Vrabel, who just made it to the Super Bowl. Kind of strange. You know what I mean? Like Ryan Tannehill, sure. But
Mhm.
I would say this: the same problems that there were in Tennessee, the same problems that there are in Philly will
Mhm.
occur in Baltimore if AJ goes there, because Lamar is going to run the ball.
Yeah.
You have Derrick Henry, who also needs to get the ball. Zay
Mhm.
Flowers is already in sync with Lamar Jackson. He will need to get the ball. And Isaiah Likely, who I heard signed with a different team today, and
The Giants, if I
the
remember
Giants,
correctly.
he's gone.
Mhm.
Cool. But like AJ, I would love to be in that room. Is like I would
Mhm.
love to be a fly on the wall of a GM, a head coach, and AJ Brown just sitting in a room and asking, "What do you want? Like what do
Mhm.
you want out of this? Do you
Yeah.
want 100 targets a year? Do you
Mhm.
want 120 targets a year? You know what I mean? Like or do you want to win a Super Bowl?" And I would love to just sit there and listen to the answer, because I know the answer. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's not about the Super Bowls, it's about the numbers. And that, to me, if I'm them, I'm good.
Well, and I don't know if you remember, because I've said that I've pitched that a lot on all the different shows that you and I have been on, all the
Mhm.
different shows that we've done. That's usually been my biggest question for a lot of these guys, that they do these big maxed out contracts. And not that I don't think AJ's contract is actually that bad.
Yeah.
If they restructure it, or even if they move with him. But that's always been my biggest question. What do you want to do? Do you want to win a Super Bowl and win championships? Or do you want to get the bag? Or in this case,
Mhm.
do you want to get your stats? And truly, I think, maybe his mindset is in a different spot. And I think it'll dive into another, TED Talk question that we don't have to go super deep into right
Yeah.
now. It can be another topic for another show. But some of these guys, what is some of these young guys' mentality now? Is it, you want to get a ton of money and win a championship, which, let's be honest, how many people realistically even get to do that? And at
Mhm.
what point do they get to do it in their careers?
Yeah.
And again, realistically, do you want to be that guy? You know, as we were making fun of Aaron Rodgers, you went to the big dance once, you did it, you made prom queen, you ain't never sniffed it again.
Mhm.
And you had a couple times you got close, you ain't never sniffed it again. And this is going to sound like a diss, but I think honestly, this guy's in a better spot of being able to potentially go to the dance, become prom queen again, than Aaron
Sure.
Rodgers is. Matt Stafford, I think, is also kind of in the same situation, but he also has made a ton of money throughout his
Yeah.
career, and he's been successful. So for me, looking at some of these young cats, it's like I get both sides. Make your money now because you're in a super violent sport, as
Yeah.
we've seen with multiple players, and as we're going to talk about with Tua next. You never know when it's going to be the end, and
Mhm.
then now you got to figure out what you're going to do and move on to next in life. But how do you want your legacy to be remembered too? That's the other big thing. Or do you even want a legacy? It's like, nah,
Exactly.
just give me the bag and I'll run with it from
Just
there.
go about my day, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
before we get into the Tua stuff, I kind of stay into Miami, because I don't think we're gonna talk about it too much today, unless you wanted to like add anything to it. I'm gonna answer your question with a question, good sir.
Oh, let's hear it.
Sticking with Miami, a recently departed member of Miami. If you
Mhm.
told me we're trading the number 14 overall pick in this year's draft, a fourth round pick, and taking a lot of the cap hit on AJ Brown, and I looked at you and said, Tony, you are the assistant GM of this organization. Would you rather trade picks to get AJ Brown and pay that money, or let the season ride out with Maxx Crosby and them guys and wait to see the status of Tyreek Hill. Because that, for me, is a situation where I know Tyreek understands what it takes to win a championship. I know Tyreek understands that Travis Kelce is going to be the guy on some days, that other individuals are going to be the guy on other days. Some days it's Pat, some days it's Tyreek, some days it's whatever running back they decided to plug in. I mean, we can go for days about how many running backs they had, but I think it'd be more interesting to me to see Tyreek Hill go to Baltimore than AJ Brown, just because it's a hell of a lot cheaper. You're not trading away any draft capital. You definitely need to revamp that offensive line. So I don't want to lose that draft capital, especially after losing Linderbaum. I think waiting for Reek to figure out what he wants to do might be the safest bet. Kind of like how Odell towards the end of the year ended up going to the Rams. That was everything.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it.
That's fair. I would say so I'm gonna answer your question with two questions of my own.
Questions are never getting answered. We're just
it's just endless questions back and forth. Is if that's the case and you decide that let's roll with what we've got, and if Tyreek is healthy and good, we'll roll with it. Do you truly believe that you're almost treating this like a let's go all in now and we'll deal with future problems as they come along?
I mean, that's as all in as it gets. And what are the future problems? Because I would say Tyreek signs a 1-year deal. Right. I think Tyreek will sign a 1-year deal and then figure out what's going on after that. You know what I mean? Like, because who's going to pay him right now after what just happened? This is a guy who's, and you, me, Coach Bennett, and we have talked about this. And let me tell you something. We about to find out. Yeah. We about to find out. Victor Bennett, if you're watching this, we about to find out how good Tyreek Hill is, because that speed, that Jaguar speed,
it's gonna probably be down a little bit.
We're gonna find out how good of a route runner Tyreek Hill fucking is. I'll tell you what, 21-year-old Mike Hughes, you've been waiting for this day. And I'm not doubting him. But I do agree. On paper, bro, if you tell me your offseason acquisitions are Maxx Crosby and Tyreek Hill, if I'm Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes is coming off of a torn ACL, and Rashid Rice is probably going to get suspended at some point in time, and Josh Allen has a new head coach, but still a guy who's been around. You know what I mean? Like, it's the Bills look solid. I won't even lie. Joe Burrow, good luck.
Yeah, that poor man was looking at the entire division. He's like, you mean to tell me I got to deal with Myles Garrett twice a year? I got to deal with TJ Watt twice a year.
Maybe
and I got to deal with
Hendrickson.
Maybe depending on where he goes, because apparently he's upset that teams aren't willing to pay him as much money as they want to pay him. And you got to face Maxx Crosby twice a year with an offensive line that I ain't gonna say they a wet paper bag. They're a paper bag, but it ain't exactly stopping.
Hey, it's a paper bag on a windy day, brother. That shit's gone.
But real quick though, before we jump into the Tua thing, because I feel like this is another really good question and topic. And again, it was kind of brought up with the whole Lamar thing. We're years like what, 8, almost 9 with Lamar and Josh Allen being in the league now. Neither one of them have been to the big dance. Now, like you mentioned, you have Patrick Mahomes that you have to deal with, and also at one point they had to deal with Tom Brady of being able to go through that.
Yeah.
At what point do we kind of also sit here and say, is it really on Josh? Is it really on Lamar? Because of the fact that you have, and we kind of have this almost every year, I would say, or at least every decade, of you have absolutely stacked teams of just great quarterbacks. It's hard to fight through everything. Like, you think of the AFC for the last 20 years or so. It was Peyton Manning, it was Brady, it was Phillip Rivers, it was Big Ben. Big Ben was able to win 2. Brady was able to win a couple. Peyton was able to win a couple. Poor Phil is out here, running on a destroyed ACL in an AFC championship game, just trying to win.
Yeah.
It's like this poor guy's, he doesn't have much to go off of.
Yeah.
And now you look at this year, and if you look at the AFC, you got Patrick Mahomes. He's won a couple. You got Josh Allen is trying to get there. You got Lamar. You got Joe Burrow. You've got Justin Herbert. You've got Bo Nix. Maybe depending on how everything goes. Again, if everything goes perfectly,
Fernando.
you may have Fernando Mendoza, and let's go. So I mean, and heck, who knows if Cam Ward ends up developing out well?
I like
Cam Ward. You've got Trevor Lawrence. When he's hot, he's rolling. Now when he's cold, he's sunshine from
CJ,
the Titans.
You went so far without saying CJ Stroud.
It's CJ Stroud. Like,
it's actually crazy from
that's that deep
season to just mentioning Fernando before CJ Stroud tone. And that's not a shot at you, but like that's that's the drop off. That's what happens when you trade fucking punters on free agency Tuesday.
Hey, that's also what happens when you throw 5 picks against a team that cold. Like buddy, you threw hardly any picks your rookie year. Like, all right, we don't expect this all the time, but you can't be throwing 5 picks in one game.
Trade your entire offensive line. Daniil Hunter, though, that's the Maxx Crosby conversation too, though. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, man, I am excited for our conversation. We'll do Tua and everything, but I'm excited to talk about the Raiders. I really am.
Right, I am too. But let's get through Tua real quick because I think it'll be a good conversation, but it's also
it'll be as long as his career.
You're right.
Yeah.
So the Dolphins cut him. They're now absorbing a $99 million dead cap hit that they're going to spread that out over 2 years. They're also designating him as a post June 1st cut to help alleviate that. But they cut him. And then the most Falcons thing they could do, which to me is hilarious. They signed Kirk Cousins to that massive deal not too long ago. They immediately draft Michael Penix that same draft, just shortly after signing Kirk. Penix has kind of been up and down. He's been hurt. They decide, okay, Kirk, we're just going to go and let you go. You go where you want to go. And then they say, you know what, Tua, why don't you come in too to also be with our other injury-prone left-handed quarterback when this is probably one that when I was listening to this on the radio on the way in, I was just kind of laughing because I'm like, you have a guy that has taken so many hits. Every time we see him hit, whether you're a Tua fan or not, or even a fan of the Dolphins, we're like, oh man, this is it.
Yeah,
like this is it. He's done. Like he's absolutely.
It's always a primetime game that you see Tua on his back throwing gang signs, and you're just like, oh,
like buddy. Oh. Are you thinking you're doing sign language or are you throwing gang? Like, what are you doing right now, bud? What are we doing?
Call the doctor. Oh,
man. But he's in Atlanta. And truthfully, I'm going to be honest. I don't think we really know, is he the backup or is he going to be the starter, especially with Kevin Stefanski now as the head coach? Because he revived old man Joe Flacco's career, had him win comeback player of the year. So, I mean.
Yeah. I would say, when ass meets ass, it's just crazy. I don't know. I think that's an interesting conversation. I will say because of Mike Gesicki and others in Miami, I know Tua is gonna hit Michael Pitts as much as possible. Yeah. And also obviously you got a guy like Bijan and
Drake
London, Darnell Mooney, so many greats. But no, it's going to be really interesting, man. I would say not to spend too much time on that, but I would say Tua is starting. I really would, and I think that's just a conversation you have to realistically have if you're that organization. Is you're a left-handed quarterback that's made the Pro Bowl. Let Michael Penix sit for a year. Michael Penix Jr., pardon me, sit for a year and kind of just learn something. I mean, learn how to not get hit or something. Anything you take away from it's a positive, I guess. But I don't know. I think that's kind of the way you go about it. Like I said, you and I were texting about it, and not to go like on a whole like tangent, but I do think Tua to Atlanta for one season would remind me a lot of like Sam Darnold on the Vikings, where it's like they're not going to win the Super Bowl, but I think it's a situation that could potentially get Tua paid again. And that's kind of where I'm at, where it's like, hey man, prove yourself that you're a starter in this league and you can get paid again and trusted to get paid again. And that big part there is staying healthy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody really cares how he performs this year, more so than, bro, please do not get another concussion. You know what I mean? And that's like so serious, but like we're laughing about it, but like it really is like wrap this dude in bubble wrap and rock out for 17 games. But you have all the weapons in the world offensively. You really do. You got a guy like Matt Ryan who you know is going to be able to navigate what the team's needs are. They have let me not make this about the Bears. They have Ian Cunningham running the show, even though Matt Ryan publicly said that Ian Cunningham is running the show. The NFL said we don't get any compensation picks, so I guess we're picking and choosing when we give fucking teams picks. But that is what it is at the end of the day. Whatever. Goodell could suck one, but yeah, they got a nice squad over there, man. So I think if there's anywhere to have that success, I think it's Atlanta.
See, I'm gonna be honest. I have the opposite feeling. You want to know why?
I love it.
My biggest thing that I say, I don't think Tua is able to revive his career. And I say that because, like you mentioned, you've got a guy like Kyle Pitts, who I don't think it's necessarily Pitts' fault. It's been a rotating door at quarterbacks that has not been good.
Yeah.
You had Arthur Smith as your offensive coordinator, or head coach, whichever he was. That's pretty much self-explanatory right there. But you have Kyle Pitts, you have Bijan Robinson, and you have Drake London. I want you to think about the names that Tua had when he was starting with Miami. You had Tyreek Hill healthy. You had Jalen Waddle healthy. You had Mike Gesicki healthy. Now, albeit their offensive line, I'm not going to sit here and say their offensive line was star-studded. I think their offensive line was like maybe middle of the pack, maybe a little bit lower. And then they had running back by committee.
Yeah.
And Tua made it to the playoffs. I'll give him credit. And when he was balling out.
Pro Bowl.
But that leads me to a lot of questions. Like, you could argue you had more weapons in Miami and you didn't do nearly as much as maybe slightly less weapons in Atlanta. And now maybe it's different because the head coach, because now you've got a guy like Stefanski that, you know, I'm not going to say Mike McDaniel wasn't good for him. And I don't think maybe revitalized his confidence in himself and kind of make him re-love football and whatnot. Stefanski maybe will be able to tap into that. But just looking at what he had in Miami as compared to what he has now in Atlanta, I have a lot of questions if I think he might be able to revive his career from that or not. Now, who's to say he doesn't do a Sam Darnold thing? Because think about it. Sam Darnold was with the Jets, then he went to the Panthers, but he got to be a backup for 49ers, kind of sit back and learn in a good solid system. Then he goes to the Vikings, kind of the same thing, but then ends up taking over, balls out. And then I think after that, you know, we all know the rest is history because he's able to win a Super Bowl this year. So good on him. I don't know if Tua is able to replicate that, like full transparency.
Can we get into it really quick? Just like, because fuck Tua, I don't care. But Atlanta's offense is way more talented than any of those Miami teams, in my personal opinion. And I want to know where you're at to why that is. Because the way I'm looking at it, you had Reek and you had Waddle. A-Chain, cool, but wet paper bag, shoulders. I mean, it's just bad. Ankles, shoulders, feet, everything. It's terrible. But when he's on, fantasy legend.
Man, speedster, he's getting you at least 20, 25 points.
Man, but in the first half. And then somehow ends with 30. But whatever, I digress.
Because they pull him out. They're like, you're done.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert, then Raheem Mostert gives you 20, 30.
Right.
Just like, brother, I start both of them.
Right.
Nah, man, I look at Drake London and what he's been able to do. I think he's had a lot of success. Kyle Pitts, you know, we talk about fantasy legends, fantasy stinker, but
underachieved for sure.
He really did show out at times last year. I'm really excited to see that untapped potential really get into it. And then Bijan, if we're putting all those Miami teams and all those Atlanta teams, Bijan is the most talented player in the entire league. So in my opinion, he's better. And we're talking career. Bijan Robinson or Tyreek Hill, who you taking career? I'm taking Bijan Robinson. Like when it's all said and done, you know what I mean? Like Bijan is on trajectory to be one of them once. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think understanding you have that plethora of options, and of course, how could you forget Darnell Mooney? It's definitely going to be interesting, but I just want to know where your head's at, man, because I think Atlanta's weapons for Tua are a hell of a lot better. And I'll leave you with this last point, because I never thought that Tyreek's skill set was good for Tua. And that's why, is because I feel like Drake London is a good route runner, where for Reek, it's like, hey, man, I need that 70, 80-yard bomb. Tua just didn't have it. Like, he's not a deep ball guy. He never really was a deep ball guy.
Yeah, not really. Not even at Alabama. He really wasn't. Slamming in Sammy Joe brought up a good point. QB needs their body and mind to be great. No one's worried about Tua's body like we do with most players. Sad to say, but as of now, Tua's no Kyler Murray. And that's true. And it was funny. Mike and I were talking about this, and Mike actually had a little bit of a bet. He's like, who do you think gets signed first, Kyler or Tua? I honestly thought teams were going to be a little bit more apprehensive with Tua you take way too many hits to the noggin. We can't, not going to take the risk. I truly figured, even though Kyler's 4'9", that teams are going to take, a chance on him. And I did see a meme. I don't know if I sent it to you guys or not in the group chat, but there's a joke that Kevin O'Connell is going to take a page out of the late great Mike Leach's playbook, sign Kyler with the Vikings, and have their left tackle Darisaw just pick Kyler up and throw him over the offensive line in the end zone with a touchdown. I'm like, he's small enough, he might be able to get away with it, full transparency.
Yeah. No, but also if we're gonna keep it a buck, damn well the only reason they brought him in, Pro Bowl left-handed quarterback, you say? And then it's the Michael Vick, whatever they have, bro, whatever ownership feels about left-handed quarterbacks. They
love it.
I would love to know if the owner of the Atlanta Falcons is left-handed. And that's all I want to know. His dreams couldn't come true, so he's trying to find someone who can live through it.
You know what it is? He was like, he saw a left-handed quarterback named Michael. He's like, oh my God, I got to draft him. And he's like, okay, he might be a little bit hurt. I need another left-handed quarterback that has won a championship at some level. Oh my God, Tua Tagovailoa, please come to Atlanta. teach Michael your ways.
Yeah.
But
Nick Saban, brother, that was the only way.
But on Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts started it, but Tua finished it. But to answer your question, though, I truly think with Atlanta, my biggest thing on being hesitant about it is not really living up to the potential. And again, kind of like I mentioned, they've had a rotating door at quarterbacks. There hasn't been a lot of stability there. The coaching has been just overall a mess. Like you said with Kyle Pitts, I watched him at Florida. He was an absolute monster. I know everybody was ecstatic, like, oh man, this dude's going to be a dog.
Yeah.
And again, when he does shine bright, one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah.
We see those flashes very, very sporadically, and it's like we're left wanting more. For Drake London, I don't think he's bad. I do think with the addition of Darnell Mooney, it helped as far as getting some of the coverage off of him, getting him the chance to be able to make that separation and whatnot. But it's hard for me because I kind of look at it with Miami, like you said, Tua and Hill may not have truly gelled that well. But I mean, you think about it, like what's a quarterback's best friend other than, let me just chuck this up here and he's got to be down there. Like, if I throw it hard enough, he's going to be able to get it.
That was the thing, though. I felt like we saw it, bro. Like, but Tua would just underthrow him, and you're like, damn. Like,
but then on the other hand, you do have a great route runner and a guy that you have a connection with because you played with him in Jalen Waddle. And I'll be honest, like, no offense to your boy Mooney, like if we're doing Drake London and Tyreek Hill, if they cancel each other out, we go into the 2. If I got to pick Jalen Waddle or Darnell Mooney, I'm picking Jalen Waddle 10 times out of 10. So And now don't get it twisted. I do agree. If you can have a solid run game like Bijan, that can take a lot of the pressure off of your quarterback and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this too, and it's no offense to Bijan because I want him to have a long, healthy career. How many times are we seeing some of these guys like a Derrick Henry that are these big, powerful backs? They have the combination of the speed, the elusiveness, the ability to break tackles, and they can stay consistent long term. Because I don't feel like we're seeing that as much anymore as we used to.
Well, Tone, argument over on the Darnell Mooney conversation because hello?
Oh, did he get traded?
He's not even on the team.
Already. Well,
my bad. I thought he was. I don't know where he was.
Hey, in your defense, we don't know because it's not like they're announcing all of these big moves that are getting.
Yeah, I am not watching. What team is Darnell Mooney on? Also, that's if you guys watch that back and like you're like physically watching the show, that's you ever go on the ESPN like to look something up, and a random ad plays, that just scared the shit out of me. Some dude like yelled in my ear. Darnell Mooney is playing for. Darnell Mooney is American wide receiver. Oh, when it starts with Darnell Mooney is an American professional football wide receiver and it doesn't say for the player.
Oh, yeah. He's a free agent.
Yeah. It just says they released him the other day.
Okay. But Slam and Sammy brought up another good point. If both are injured, Stefanski might just trade for Dylan Gabriel. I don't know if he would trade for – he might.
Why not?
But maybe.
I believe it.
But maybe. But before we end though, let's get into the Raiders part because I know that was the other big topic we want to talk about. Of the Raiders seem to be making all the good moves. They got Tyler Linderbaum for their center. So again, if Fernando is the guy that they draft, unless they just decide to go total opposite direction, Fernando is going to be their quarterback. He already has a starting really good center right off the bat. They got Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean, two better defensive players coming out of the league. Both Georgia Bulldogs, believe it or not. So not really a big surprise.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. But nonetheless, though, it seems like Tom Brady, he said, I'm the owner. I got stake in this. I make money from this. I'm not associating my name with garbage. Like if we're going to do this is absolutely going to happen. And he said if the Raiders draft Caleb Banks, that'd be solid. And that's the other thing too. Now they have the number 1 overall pick and they have the number 14 overall pick.
Yeah.
Because of the trade of Maxx Crosby to the Ravens. So they've got 2 top 15 picks. So 2 guys that are potentially going to be starters right off the bat in what's a really good college football class. Mm-hmm. So Mike, buddy, what's your thought on the old Vegas Raiders?
Look. Stay with me now. Mm-hmm. You know, I think genuinely, this is me. So I'm so serious, guys. Like, please don't be mad. If I'm Tom Brady and I understand what it takes to be a pro and I understand what goes into the uncertainty of not only the number 1 overall pick, but really any top 10 pick. When we're talking about quarterbacks, especially, I mean, you look at the situation right now with what went on with Kyler Murray and Josh Rosen and so many others, Tua Tagovailoa, the list goes on. I personally think you pull a Chicago Bears at this moment, and you debate trading that number 1 overall pick.
Oh.
I think you have that conversation because I think the team that you have surrounded around everybody is good. And like I told you, this Las Vegas Raiders team, assuming they draft Fernando, reminds me a lot of the 2024 Chicago Bears. It's gonna be a stinker. It's gonna be bad, but there's pieces moving. You know, the board is shifting, and you see that by the end of the year, you get a couple meaningful wins like the Bears did against the Packers in the final week, and you go into 2025, you make more moves, more concrete solidity, and just like understanding like, hey, this is a winning culture. And then you got something in 2027. But on the other side of things, say you trade the number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at a team right now that still doesn't have a number one wide receiver, in my personal opinion. You know, we talk about that a lot, and it's important. Yeah. The Chicago Bears traded the number one overall pick to the Carolina Panthers and got 2 first-round picks and DJ Moore and a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying you're going to get that DJ Moore offer again, but if you could get a solidified wide receiver and then get all of that draft capital and then Tone, cherry on top, Kyler Murray, welcome to a 1-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay.
Why not?
Well, and funny enough to add to that, because the minute you said that, it made me think, what would the sweet, sweet irony be if this happens, right? Let's say they do decide to trade it. Let's say there's a certain college prospect that is potentially available in next year's draft that is supposed to be the diamond of diamonds for this generation of quarterbacks. Yeah. Little feller out of Texas named Arch Manning.
What was that last name?
Manning.
Oh,
working for a Brady.
Does Brady know anything about the Mannings?
Oh, just a little bit. You know, beating up Peyton, but taking big fat L's to Eli.
But so here's my thing, right? Fernando could be a solid prospect. He reminds me a lot of Bryce Young, not in their game style, but in number one overall pick value. I think when I saw Bryce Young, you watch the tape, you watch what he was able to do in college. You're like, kid's a baller, kid's good. But for me, it just wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like when you and I had those real conversations when the Bears still had Justin Fields, and you know how much I loved Justin Fields. I said I would be pissed if the Bears traded Fields and got Bryce Young. Caleb Williams, I was more reluctant on it, but you understood that the kid had talent and the kid was that generational arm. That reminds me so much of this in a sense to where it's like you can get the Bryce Young now, or you could bank on potentially next year getting the diamond of diamonds, which was Caleb Williams. And that's really where I'm at. And if you're watching this and you don't like Caleb Williams, cool. Like, fuck it. You could draft the Jaden Daniels. You can do whatever. I don't care. I don't care. It's not the point. My point is, if Archie's available and if Aaron Glenn, who I think I know Aaron Glenn pretty well, he's got some balls. And I think he would be willing to trade up from 2 to number 1. And if you're trading with the Jets for their next year number 1 overall pick, congratulations, brother. You have the number 1 overall pick. Like that's really how I'm thinking, man.
And I'll be honest too. I think if the Jets hold the number 1 overall pick, because Arch could stay 1 more year in college even after next year. Yeah, I think they tell him, don't even think it. Don't you know? Just stay in there. And then say I agreed. He ended the season well, especially after so many people started to write him off. And I think a lot of that was just the Texas offensive line didn't play very well. The wide receivers didn't live up to the hype.
Hey, but Tone, my bad. I just thought of something though. You ready for this?
Yeah.
If you get the number 1 pick next year and he stays, trade the pick again. Arch, you will be a Raider, brother. You will not escape this. I will trade every fucking guy on this roster. The mascot, all 53, the practice squad, alumni, Hall of Famers, all going to whatever team has the number 1 overall pick. Arch, you are a fucking Raider, and Tom will make sure it happens. Thomas Patrick Edward Brady Jr. owns Arch Manning. No, I'm playing.
But no, buddy, it's been fun. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you like everything on here, check out Inside the Hoosier Mind, and please check out Military Broadcast Radio too. There are a whole lot of great veterans that have a lot of great shows on here. And also check out Gunfighter Beard Co. if you want great beards like what Mike and I have. They have all sorts of good stuff to keep you smelling good. And we will see. Oh, and check out Mike if you love Mike stuff, especially anything Chicago related, at The Shy Kid. And we will see y'all later.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio.